Welcome back to the Rhino Rank podcast, where we talk about all things marketing, SEO, and business growth. As always, I'm Jack, and today Jess and I are talking about a hot topic, AI in marketing. But instead of the usual hype, we're asking the harder question. When shouldn't you use it? To help us unpack this, we're joined by the one and only Tom Winter. Tom is a serial entrepreneur and the co-founder of SEOWind, an AI-powered SEO content platform built to help marketers create data-driven content that actually ranks. He's known for his refreshing realism, often challenging the industry's obsession with over-automation and pushing for more thoughtful, creative, and responsible use of AI in marketing. In this episode, we'll explore how to use AI with intention, what the Cyborg Method really is, and how to recognize the red flags when tech starts replacing thinking. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Jack, for the invite. Really glad to be here, and hopefully I'll share as much knowledge with you as possible.
Brilliant. That's what we like to hear. We're also joined with our fantastic Jess Baxter here at Rhino Rank. And Jess, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad, thank you. I'm surrounded by some wonderful people on this session. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a really interesting topic.
Awesome. I think it'll be a really interesting topic as well. So to get us started, we'll go straight to Tom. Tom, do you want to give us a quick intro on yourselves, your journey in the world of SEO, how you got to SEOWind, and we can go from there.
So basically, I'm in SaaS world for the last decade or even more. And I'm, as you already mentioned, I'm half a developer, half a marketer. So I combine these skills together, which is very useful because not only I can think about marketing things, but I can automate them using old-fashioned Python, or right now, like using also AI and AI workflows, or even AI agents that I'm playing around with. I got into SEO because I was building my own SaaS tools. So I started to use SEO as the main way of getting leads into the company, into the tools. And this is how my journey with SEO started over a decade ago. And because I had like a lot of issues with building briefs and writing articles, like because it's a repetitive process that you have to gather the knowledge and so on, we decided to create SEOWind, which is an AI writing tool that focuses on the research. Like for us, like 80% of the whole task, like of writing an article, is the research part, just to pull the data and put it all together in a way that is digestible for AI, so it knows what to write about and it has exactly the information that it needs to add value to the articles.
Awesome. Okay. So obviously, like you say, you've mentioned you're using AI as a tool, which has really come onto the scene over the last few years. How has your passion for AI evolved? How has that developed? Why did you start using it, and why is it such a, quite frankly, an integral part of SEOWind and your work right now?
So I started to use AI with GPT 2.0. Just to remind you, ChatGPT, like, so the visual part of the chat was released with the 3.0 version, which was over 2 years ago in December. I wanted to create briefs, like, because I really hated briefs because it goes like through the same process, and I wanted to find help from AI to make these decisions, like using data, just to analyze what we should focus on in a brief that is the foundation of the article. And I wanted to provide it to humans because that was a process that is repetitive, that took me 2 hours. And every single time I had to go to specific data points like Ahrefs or SEMrush, go to every single competitor and so on and so forth. And I hated this process. So then I realized if you have data that you hand over to a human, you can actually do the same with AI. So basically, you can hand over the data to AI and it will actually write much, much better. Of course, during the last 2 years, that evolved a lot. And we're right now parsing like, I don't know, 100 times more data than we used to 2 years ago. But basically, this is how it all started.
So in terms of the creation of SEOWind, then is that kind of how it was created? Obviously, like you say, you've looked at previous data from the likes of SEMrush and Ahrefs. Is that why you created SEOWind, for that almost gap of being able to have somebody else look at the data and then make a decision on how to create the content?
Definitely, that was the reason, to simplify the life of people, humans, not to do the repetitive stuff that can be done by AI.
Yeah.
But at the moment, like looking at the market, like how AI writing tools are working, most of the AI writing tools like on the market that I see are basically a front end to a vanilla LLM. So basically a front end to ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever, which give the bad fame for AI writing tools because all what they do, they generate fluff, empty content and spam because they're just not doing the research. That's why I said, like, for me, the main part is the research. Like AI writing, when you have the data, is the cherry on the top. It's the easy part. gathering the data and putting all together to make it valuable, this is the hard part. And from humans' perspective, it's extremely difficult because we spend hours and hours on research.
Yeah, we definitely do that. And I think what you say as well is how you've created the tool to do almost the legwork for you, like for human writers. So the tool goes out, it does the research, it kind of creates that initial starting point for you to then take to the next level. Whereas, as you say, a lot of tools are almost like copycats of themselves to some degree. They're all kind of just churning out very similar material from very similar sources. So it sounds like SEOWind is almost the complete opposite to that, which is amazing. And I think it's something that a lot of marketers and a lot of businesses as well could definitely utilize.
Yeah, definitely, because we try to replicate the process that a human does. And this is one of the things that I think everybody should consider whenever you're trying to automate anything. First thing, how are you doing this as a human? Because we have a tendency to go to ChatGPT or whatever and simplify the process just to ask a direct question and wanting like needing like direct answer. It doesn't work like that. So we actually complicate the process a little bit more because it's not only about gathering the data in the beginning, but then iterating on the same thing over and over again on multiple steps like we would do as humans. So when we write an article as humans, we write a draft, then we optimize it, then we add statistics, thought leadership insights. Maybe you have some own experience. Then we optimize it for specific keywords. Then we add additional external links. Then we do another thing to focus on EAT and so on and so forth. Like it's a process on iterating on the same thing over and over again to get the perfect output. And this is what we're also trying to do. And when thinking about anything that you do with AI, I would really strongly recommend think about what would you do as a human, and then try to replicate the same thing with AI.
I think that's been probably one of the downfalls with AI as a whole, in the sense of, oh, there's this fantastic tool that can now go and write me 1,000-word article on this specific topic and focus on this keyword. Well, that's great, but it's that almost lack of human attention, which is great to see that the SEOWind almost has that instilled in it. That's what you've got that process for, to be able to go and have this multi-process check system to create an article as if it was a human, but it's still faster than a human, which is essentially what everybody wants to use AI for.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the aim that we're trying to focus on, but it's a never ending story. So like it's something that you have to adjust, make it better, and then make it better, like just to see the results and measure the results, which is extremely hard to measure. I was on a conference last week and a lot of people were talking about EAT, like so EAT this, EAT that. I wasn't a nice listener, so I asked additional questions to them. Like basically, how do you measure EAT? And none of the speakers was able to say. Like it was just like we should do EAT and like, but you can't measure it. So how do you know this piece of content is more EAT than this one? Like, what do you do? Like, do you know you're heading in the right direction or not? Like, so what are you improving? And you have to actually understand like where you're heading. How do you measure if you succeeded or not? And then iterate on that, like based on the metric that you find.
Awesome. Okay, Jess, do you have a question for Tom? I know I've thrown a couple of questions at him already.
Yeah, I just say like, how do you see businesses adapting to using AI at the moment? Because obviously a couple of years ago there was the big boom with ChatGPT and kind of all these automation tools. And I think everybody is guilty to some degree of using them a little bit too much. So every time, like, if you've got an email that you need proofreading, you might chuck it into ChatGPT and get it to come back with a reiteration. If you need content, you might just be like, write me 1,000-word, blog post using this keyword for this audience, go. But AI is evolving so much. How do you think businesses do need to adapt to that?
I think I will take it from a little bit different angle than normally. I was speaking to a person about like adapting AI in the companies. And of course, like if you have people inside the company that are trying to figure out like new ways, are making mistakes, that's okay, but are trying to like improve the email, improve this process, improve that, like huge props to them. Like really congratulate every single person that is trying to implement that in the company, because they're the people that will make the change, will change your company and improve their company. But the big problem that like I see is that implementing AI in the company is not a technical problem, it's an emotional problem. which means if you want to implement, and if you're forcing your staff to implement AI into your company, there will be a lot of backlash on that. Like people will think, okay, I'm losing my job. My so far skills are obsolete. Like, so I need to learn new things where I will be in the process and so on. So you have to actually tackle not the technical problems of implementing AI, but the human problems. So this is the huge problem that all the businesses have to tackle right now. So actually informing the staff what are the benefits, how the company will change, and to make them feel safe. Then you can tackle all the other things, like how we can actually improve with AI. So the technical problems. But the first step, I think, is like just to inform the humans that are currently doing the tasks. How do you feel you will be implementing that, and where's their place? How they will benefit from the whole thing.
I think that's a really fresh perspective to have, because all the time when you see about AI, it's like use it and do it this way, use it and use these prompts, use it for this task or that task. You don't really see many people, as you've just said, saying like use AI as an assistant to the staff you already have, use it to support their day-to-day work, use it so they feel supported in what they're doing, so they can do more and they can scale themselves as well. So I think it's a very fresh direction to take it in.
And how do you implement like actually AI inside your company?
That's a great question. I'll answer it from almost operations perspective. Again, we use it kind of how you've described. We don't want it to replace our staff or replace the people that are part of Rhino Rank. Rhino Rank has been built over the last 8 years because of the team we have. The way we build links is such a human process. It's so manual that whilst, yes, in certain elements we can automate things, it is completely manual. And it would be really difficult to have an AI tool replace that, because you're checking for multiple things. If we're looking for a suitable placement to work with a client, well, yes, you could probably try and train AI to do that. But as you've already mentioned, it isn't always the most consistent. You do have to have these multi-checkpoint systems, which would be really difficult for us to integrate. Whereas we could have a human do that and know it's pretty much 100% accurate. We cherish our team here. But whilst, yes, we're excited by the development with AI, we're using that to benefit the team we have and to make their lives that little bit easier, to help them maybe speed up in certain instances. And I think that's crucial, like you say, not using it to replace the team, but to improve them, to help them become better. And I think that's definitely how our team are viewing AI at the moment as well. Like we regularly have conversations in our office about what people have been using AI for outside of work. So not even let's say for what they need to do for Rhino Rank, it's what have I used it for outside of work? What have I done on my own project, for example? And the fact that they already have that understanding of this is helping them as opposed to replacing them, I think that's been crucial for us.
Yeah, that's like really important. And I believe that most businesses lack the communication that you just said to tell people like what you think, what you feel about AI, like how you feel the implementation will interact with them. And one more thing that I found in what you said, you mentioned that you can't get the consistency of AI. This is one of the key things that I see, which are the biggest problem with AI and using AI. So how to get consistent, predictable results, because we're all talking about, when we're talking about AI, it has to be creative. Creativity and consistency, like they don't get along.
Really
Like
difficult.
really, they don't.
Yeah.
So we need to have this predictability of results. And if you have like done it once, try 100 times more to see if the results that you get is predictable, even with the same thing over and over again. Because this is one of the key problems that I have, because I often run the same query 100 to 500 times just to see if I can get predictable results, because I want a specific thing from it.
I completely agree. And it's if you take the first result as gospel, let's say, again, you're being almost maybe slightly naive to just how unpredictable and inconsistent AI can be. Yes, it's a fantastic tool, but don't 100% trust it straight away. Run your own, like you say, your own tests. Run a query multiple times to fully understand what you're likely to receive from it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome. Jess, any other questions?
Almost. I think the only thing that I would add is probably from like a marketing perspective, I use AI tools probably in a similar way to how SEOWind was kind of intended. So I use AI writing tools to do a lot of the bulk research that we need to write blog posts for our own website, or if we're kind of looking into a topic, just to kind of get that groundwork done. Because Rhino Rank's wonderful. We've got such an amazing culture and ecosystem here, but we're not like a 20-person marketing team. We're proud of what we do and the work that all of our team members kind of play in that. But everybody has their certain role. So using an AI writing tool to be able to do some of the legwork, so you can use your time into maybe more of the pragmatic planning or strategic marketing, laying all that out and figuring out how your content's then going to translate onto socials and other platforms. It just frees up that time so you can kind of get into the nitty gritty of the next big thing almost.
Definitely.
I think that's crucial. I think I kind of echo what Jess is saying, and you're almost using it as your foundation. You're almost laying the foundation of what you want to use it for, and then the human almost element comes after that. You can use it to give you an idea, and then you can develop from it. It's fantastic for giving you that sense of, oh, maybe I can follow this topic, maybe I can follow this view for this article, for example, without having to take ages to create an idea or follow that topic. I think it could be Microsoft, the new Microsoft laptop. There's an advert on telly I've seen. You guys have probably seen it as well, and you quickly create me an idea for a story, and then it creates an idea, and then this lady just goes off and starts creating the article. It's kind of like that. You almost use it for your foundation for a sense of an idea, and then you can get going.
100%. It's like your own little virtual AI assistant to some degree. And I know like Gmail has like AI summaries now. So if you get a really big long email, it'll kind of give you a little summary of what it's about. So it's like there's these like little kind of nuggets of gold everywhere almost, of like AI tools being integrated into platforms and systems we use on a daily basis. So it's not necessarily going to, Chat GPT or DeepSeek or these tools directly. It's kind of being integrated into all the touch points that people in offices or businesses use every day.
But like here, you mentioned really something very, very important, that we as humans at the moment, in my opinion, we depend too much on pure vanilla LLMs. So like basically the chat form of LLMs. And to be honest, they're so limited in the sense because they don't have the whole context. Like you've mentioned Gmail. So like within Gmail, like it's not about pasting in like a message to go like to Chat GPT saying like right now, summarize that for me. This is a simple thing. But like I'm a developer, I use Cursor, I use Windsurf like as the IDE that I use on daily basis. And there is like LLMs like plugged in directly there. So like I'm using Claude 3.7 for coding, but I can code with it much faster within Cursor, so like the IDE that I'm using. If I would code in Claude directly, so in vanilla LLM, it doesn't have the context of my whole code, so I can't resolve it at the speed that I can. So the same goes with SEOWind. SEOWind uses Claude 3.7 or like GPT-4 or any other LLM, but it doesn't matter. Our focus is the context. So like we're researching the context and we're able to provided to AI this context. So the same goes like with Cursor. Like it knows my whole project, it knows all the files. So if I ask it to resolve a problem in a specific place in the code, it has much, much more context. So that's why I'm able to resolve it there. If I would go to ChatGPT directly, I could resolve the same problem, but it would take me 10 times more time or like 15 times more time. And you have to think about all the AI tools from the perspective, should I use the vanilla LLM, just go directly to the chat, or should I use some kind of a specialized tool that will have this environment around it that will pull the data that you need to resolve a specific task?
Funnily enough, Tom, you've kind of started to answer my next question. My next question was going to be about what are some of the mistakes you typically tend to see people making when they first start using AI? And you've kind of almost started to answer that in how you're saying people are using it incorrectly. They're not either giving it enough context or they're using it in the wrong format. What else would you say you typically tend to see? Obviously, you work with it on a daily basis. What would you tend to see most in terms of mistakes people making when they first start using AI?
Okay, so we already have two. So one was depending purely on vanilla LLM when the
Yeah.
task needs a lot more context. The second one that I already mentioned is getting non-replicable results that are not scalable. Basically,
Yeah.
so like it's basically counting on luck. If I toss a coin, it will be heads or tails. Like, so I have 50% chance.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will get it, but sometimes I will not. So the same goes with AI. It will be creative. It will try to respond. This is the biggest problem of AI. It will always respond. No matter if it knows the answer or not, it will respond. So you need to work on your prompts. If you're having prompts and you want to reuse them, they need to give you results that are replicable, that are predictable. This way you can actually scale your process. So this is the second one. The third one, like most of the people want, they think black or white. So they either want an answer that is perfect or they will not use AI. There's a lot of gray area in between. Like, so if it helps you out with scaling your process, like, and if it speeds up like the process, if you're gaining some value, like this is already a win. Best would be if you know how the process looked like if you did it as a human, and then try to replicate it with AI. But it's not that if you were writing an article, as an example, and you were going and grabbing all these pieces and then pulling and getting the context and then starting to write. So don't expect AI to do it all at once. It's not about like giving 300-page book to AI saying like, do something with that. And then getting back like fluff and saying like, he can't do it, I can. It doesn't work this way. Like your process is like split into pieces. So think about it from this perspective and automate a process that you already did as a human, or I call it often human as a service. So you have SaaS, which is software as a service. I call it HaaS, human as a service. First start with that, then automate bits and pieces of this process. Don't automate the whole thing at once because it will not work out. Slowly get into the results that you want.
It's almost like they're breaking down the process into all the individual steps that it takes. Like, even as you say, to write a piece of content, you've got your research, you've got your first draft, you've got your stats that you're adding, you've got your citations or the quotes if you're using sources. So it's like all those individual pieces need to be thought about. Same as like if you're using AI to, I don't know, send out automated emails or complete a process chart. It's like thinking about each individual touch point that a human would do and how an AI would need to do that and what information they would need as well.
Yeah, exactly. But this is like really breaking it down to pieces. Like if you want to eat an elephant, eat them in pieces, basically. I was speaking on a conference just a couple of weeks ago, and I showed them like exactly my process, like every single step of this process. Okay, not exactly, it was simplified, but still every single step of the process.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me at the end, how much time does it take you? And it's like 5 minutes. But like with automating each part of this process, if I would like to do it as a human using a vanilla LLMs, it would take me 8 hours. So automate bits and pieces, but think about what do you need to use? Is it like a specific tool? Like for example, for me, for coding Cursor, which I use on a daily basis, or you want to go to vanilla LLM like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, anything like that. And the fourth one would be ignoring the human touch. Because we as humans, like we have superpowers and AI has superpowers. Let's combine them together. So let's make something out of that. Like if you want to know like what are our superpowers, because a lot of people don't know what are humans' superpowers, we talk to the customers, we talk to the product team, we have a lot of experience. This is something that we can put in. We have a lot of knowledge that AI doesn't. So these are the things that we definitely should put in. And the fifth one, it's failing to monitor and adjust, I would say. So it's a never ending process. Like you have to iterate, you have to make it better and better, but like doing it in steps. Like often the first try is not the win. I often make 10 mistakes until I get a win or a small win. When I'm writing prompts, specific prompts, I've seen 250 versions of some of my prompts. So until I get one that I'm actually is scalable, replicable, that gives me predictable results.
Yeah. And I think as well, that's probably where a lot of people struggle with AI because, there's a lot of different tools out there. They might not necessarily know which one they should go to begin with. So I think a lot of people do naturally just gravitate towards ChatGPT because it was one of the first, it's one of the most popular. But I don't think that a lot of people will try and reach that 250 times of like trialing something in order to get the answers that they want. I feel like a lot of people, at least like myself to some degree, you might do maybe 5 to 10 different versions. And if you've not got maybe the results that you want, yes, you might tweak it, or you might just be like, right, I'm just going to park that for now because I've got other things to focus on. So I think it's almost like that juggling act, isn't it? Of when is AI helpful or when is it actually, hindering you to some degree if you've not got the experience you necessarily need to be utilizing it the way that is necessary.
I totally agree with you, but like it comes back to what I said earlier. You have to be able to measure if you're going in the right direction. Because if I tell you, like, I will show you 2 pieces of content on the same topic, for me, it's extremely hard to say like which one is better. Like, so you have to actually understand how to measure that. Like, this was my question to the people that were talking about EAT. But basically, you have to understand like how to measure what you're looking for. What is your goal? And this way you can head in that direction. If you don't know that, as a human, you would justify everything into whatever you're thinking.
I was going to say it's almost knowing what you're looking for in the responses you're getting from the AI. So, if you're giving it a prompt, you need to have already kind of like laid out in your mind or in a document somewhere, kind of what you expect to get back or what you at least need to get back in order for it to be deemed a success.
Exactly.
Tom, in terms of measuring results, obviously I know you asked the other people at the conference, how do you measure this? How would you measure this? Like if somebody
Magic.
Yeah, magic. If somebody is also sitting there thinking to themselves, well, I'd love to be able to do this, but I've got no idea how to measure it. How would you do that from somebody that again works with it on a daily basis, has a tool designed to develop this content that can be measured as such?
So like easiest way, like I will not go into details of the algorithms because like
Of
I can't
course.
even tell about it. Like it's not about that. I don't want to share it, but like it will be difficult.
Yeah.
But one of the easiest, if you don't know how to measure anything, like what I start with is something that is called critique stage with AI. So basically, critique stage means I'm going to AI and I'm asking like to critique like whatever I have. I can critique my prompt, I can critique my article, and basically based on that, I'm asking like, look, AI, let's go with the article. Can you give me the strong points, the weaknesses, and what are the action points to improve the article? Here's the article. Like, so basically it will pinpoint the things that it will feel. I can also add into the critique stage what I'm aiming for. So the goal. So for example, I'm aiming to improve my EAT factors as an example. And based on that, it will give me an example. I can also ask it like, if you could measure it from 0 to 10, what is the EAT factor of this article? It will give me a number. Then I can compare it to a different article and I can compare them together. So even not knowing how to measure, I can use this critique stage to tell me more which one is kind of better. Like it will not be extremely accurate, but it will be fast and it will be more accurate than my hunch. The second thing that you can do is you can use critique stage in a different way. So you can give sample A, sample B, and say like compare them together. Tell me based on the factors that I'm looking at. So for example, EAT, which one will perform better? Can you also measure them like from 0 to 10 and put them on scales for these specific factors? So like divide the specific factors, every single one of them, and tell me how do they measure compared to each other. So this is the easiest way, like fastest way that you can do with comparing certain things together. It will give you actually accurate results because it will tell you like this one is better, this one is worse. But like you can measure like things multiple ways based on your goals. Like it's all about A/B testing. So the problem with A/B testing that you see results after a while. This is the biggest problem. So it would be best to publish both our articles and see like how do they perform. But then I will have to wait 2 months for the answer, and I don't want to wait. So I would go back to critique stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense because if you have to wait 2 months every time you want to trial something different, you could be, if you've got 5 things to try, you're almost like a year in to kind of like the end goal. Whereas if you're using the critique scale, maybe you can do it in a couple of hours if you're going back and forth, comparing multiple pieces on multiple different points. And it's actually something I do quite a lot that I didn't realize was an official thing or an official term. It's like when you've got 2 things, whether they're pieces of content, whether they're ideas, whether they're kind of like structured plans, it's putting them next to each other going, which is best for A, B, and C, explain why. And what I often add at the end as well is if you could further enhance it so it could do X goal, how would you and why would you? Sometimes what you get back isn't gospel, isn't always the highest quality, but it at least points you in the right direction and gives you kind of like a little bit of a next step and a bit more understanding.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. So, Tom, you've developed your own method called the Cyborg Method. You essentially use that to help boost growth and efficiency by combining AI and essentially human expertise. Run us through that. What is this method and how did it come about?
So basically, when it comes to Cyborg Method, we coined it like about 2 years ago, but it's extremely simple. Like basically, human and AI working together, not against each other, because we can actually work better when we work together. As I mentioned, we both have superpowers, so we can use them. But like the main goal is to, first of all, identify where you can make an impact. So what are the key wins that you can get and win fast? Like do small steps, how to cooperate with AI. Like you can go into your company and find like these small things that are repetitive, like most common are the tasks that are very repetitive. Writing an article is a repetitive task. I've heard from many companies that they do reports every single week. They hate them. You can also automate reporting. You can go around your company, ask people what are the repetitive tasks that you do every single week that you don't like to do, because best would be to go after the tasks that people don't like to do, because it's all about gathering the data. AI is just there to decision make or gather some data or process some data, but you have to remember about execution. So actually getting the data from somewhere. If it's from the email, or if it's like from analytics, Google Search Console, or scraping data, like you will not use AI for scraping data. For example, like scraping a page. You will use old-fashioned Python library, which is called Beautiful Soup, because it's far better than AI. And then optimize the whole process. Like find how you can leverage the whole cooperation, how you can grow it. But start from simple things and do a lot of human as a service, as I mentioned before, because AI is just a logical engine that will amplify on whatever you already did as a human. So it can take over some tasks, but you have to understand as a human how to put it into work using your own hands and your own brain. And basically blend in like the whole human creativity into that. All of your experience, all of your so far knowledge that you have, because you're working with customers on every single day. Like you're talking to the customers. As a human, you're learning from every single discussion. So you're becoming a better employee and employer from every single discussion that you have with somebody. AI, to be honest, every single discussion starts from scratch.
And it's also like, as you say, like add your knowledge, add your expertise, but it's also adding your own personality in as well. I think that's a lot of, what AI misses at the moment. It's very good at turning out very structured content, but it doesn't necessarily have like your tonality to it. It doesn't have like the way that you would speak or the nuances that you would use. So if you are like a small business or you're like, you're building your personal brand, you need to have that human touch point. You need to kind of, run your eyes over it, proof it, make it sound like you, make sure you're happy to put your name to whatever it is that you're sending out there, because at the end of the day, your reputation as a person or as a business owner or as an employee is also on the line to some degree. And you don't want to just be using AI and not looking at what it's turning out and just pressing the yes, publish, yes, send button, because we need to kind of, as you say, like have this cyborg method, use humans, use AI, and use them to like almost benefit each other and learn from each other.
But like remember that it's changing a lot, and I can automate much, much more right now than I was able half a year ago. So when I was talking about critique stage, remember like that you can implement critique stage on any level. So like if you wanted to add it before you send an email, just to another kind of AI workflow that will just check out for specific things inside, it will do that. So you can basically make the whole process longer by adding these stages that will check if whatever you're sending is accurate according to your tone of voice, according to specific things. And you can divide the process and run the critique stage over and over again at different things and at different steps. So you can actually create a workflow that will get you far closer to perfect than you used to.
Yeah, it's a very important point to make as well. It's like every time that you see that the process isn't working the way you want it, or is maybe failing to some degree, that's when you go back in, you use that kind of like measuring and auditing that we spoke about earlier, and you do that critique phase, you do the tweaking, you do the adjustment, and then you run it again to make sure you get the final product that you want and that it's consistent.
But then also you can use critique stage as a standard part of the process. So it's not only about iterating to make this specific prompt better, but it's like a part of the whole process. So like I create something, AI critiques it on specific values, I turn these answers to prompts, which go over the text and iterate on the text again. So like this way, I can basically make a workflow out of the whole process, and to have this agent in between that makes decisions what to do next.
I completely agree. I think it makes complete sense. And Tom, we've been speaking for 13, 40 minutes now, and you're clearly an expert with AI. So it's fantastic for everybody listening. It's brilliant for us as well. Tom, if we move on to my next question, let's focus on link building as a whole. How do you see AI developing link building, and why? Now, this is a great question for me. Why do you think the human element of link building is still going to be as crucial as it is right now? But how do you see AI improving that process, or developing that process as such?
I'm not an expert in link building. You probably have like much more knowledge about this. Like, so I can actually go start this topic and you can continue with that. I believe that when it comes to link building, it's a lot of building relationships. Like, it's something that is not directly connecting with sending mass spam email to 10,000 emails that I will find online, but it's actually building relationships with specific brands, and based on that, building these links. Like, of course, we can use AI to help to give the value to the people that we create these relationships with. So for example, building valuable content that they can publish on their website and then getting backlinks to specific place. Probably we can also use AI for the whole interaction with these people to make it consistent and not to forget about specific relationships that we already built. But definitely, I would love to hear more from your side, especially with the fact that right now, digital PR is all over LinkedIn and everywhere. So if you can tell me more about how you actually use AI in this process.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I've kind of thrown myself a little bit under the bus here. I've kind of asked myself the question almost. For us as a company, like I've already mentioned, AI has been fantastic as almost an extra assistant for our staff. Now, we're fortunate enough to work with hundreds, if not thousands, of different companies in every different industry you can think of, whether it be the insurance industry, fitness industry, health, finance, beauty, lifestyle, or even the more obscure, very niche companies like lawn care companies or resin driveway companies or roof and gutter repair companies. You name it, we've worked with it. But for our staff, that isn't second nature. So what AI has been very, very good at for us is, in some instances, helping us to summarize what we're working with. So who is this client? What do they do? What services do they offer? And that's also really useful for us to be able to say, if we're summarizing the client we're working with, what type of content do we need to be looking for to try and build a link in? And I think that's been absolutely crucial for us to say, okay, well, if we're working for a gutter repair company, okay, well, typically the first things you're going to look for are, how do I repair a gutter? What shall I do if my gutter's broken? But then it also leads you on to different topics such as how to prepare your home for the winter, unclog your gutters so you don't get broken gutters. And it's things like that. So definitely for us, it's been fantastic for helping us to almost speed up that summary and research process if we have our team that aren't sure. And for link building for us specifically, contextual relevancy is absolutely crucial. We need to ensure that not only does it make sense for the link to be there, but does it make sense for Google to believe that the link is supposed to be there? I think some people tend to forget that. And when you look at some elements of link building, people in link building, okay, just for the sake of link building, but we want to link build in the best way possible, in the safest manner. And that typically boils down to contextual relevancy. So again, that AI summary, that AI influence at the start is helping us improve that, is helping us maintain that understanding that when we're working with a specific client, we're able to build that relationship that has that relevancy, because that's what we've seen to typically be the most important factor, to be the most valuable factor to when link building. You obviously mentioned PR. It's a really interesting one. We at Rhino Rank, we don't offer any, I guess, form of PR service right now, whether it be working with really high authority or really well-established domains. If we're talking of the likes of Forbes, Telegraph, Independent, of really top domains that people want to work with. And the main reason for that is we much prefer to try and build at scale. We much prefer to try and build a good number of links that are contextually relevant, that are going to allow us to drive value to a client's site. And when you're working with PR, they're fantastic for, yes, you're having a fantastic authoritative link, but they're brilliant for driving referral traffic in some instances. There's a gentleman I follow on LinkedIn, and he runs a large PR firm in the UK. Every time I read one of his posts on LinkedIn, I think fantastic work that this person is doing, absolutely fantastic. And he talks about the referral traffic that the client has received. We're working slightly differently in terms of trying to drive value, help, again, clients develop their authority, improve their rankings. That's a key thing for us, which is why we typically don't look at PR. It's something we'd love to do. We just don't have the capacity right now, unfortunately. And again, if we're talking specifically about AI, you're probably using AI to try and find, again, these relationships, these sites that you can work with. You could even be using AI, again, for the foundation of your article. You might even be using SEOWind to try and help you create this AI piece. So in terms of how I've kind of gone off on a big tangent, and I do apologize to the listeners or the watchers. But in terms of how AI is developing that almost link building practice, I always think there's going to be some form of human element, and there needs to be, specifically if you want to run your own checks, if you look at specific metrics, things along those lines, if you want to look at ranking keywords, organic traffic. But I think it's going to help develop the actual process of finding that placement in terms of, is this relevant? Does this suit the client I'm working for? Does this suit my website? Does this kind of match the voice I want to meet for my business? Yeah, I've gone off on a big tangent now. I do apologize.
So for anybody listening to us, like, there's just a business idea that Jack just said. Like, you can start developing that. Like, you have your first customer there.
Yeah.
But like, no, I do agree. Like, it's all about finding a way to do it. And there's plenty of ways we can implement. We're in the beginning of the road with what we can do with AI. We're on the first stage, that was simple stage. We're all in love with chat. But to be honest, AI is far more than the chat. The chat part is the limiting thing. So let's see where we head.
100%. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. And you know, we at Rhino Rank, we're very excited to see where it can take Rhino Rank, where it can take our processes, how it can help our team improve. And that's not to say that our team need to improve, but you know that these tools are designed for that. These tools are designed to help you become better, to help you become definitely more efficient. And for a company that tries to build at scale, efficiency is absolutely key. So, you know, if it can work, fantastic. Okay. I think, Jess, do you have any other questions?
I don't really have a question, but I will just touch on what you said, obviously, about PR a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, like, we've mentioned that it's not something that we necessarily offer at the moment. One level is just due to capacity, but the second level is because, the human touch elements and that we build more at
100%.
scale. But it's also, at least from my perspective, is a lot of the companies that we work for, they're not necessarily at the place where they need or would naturally get a big PR link. We're working with smaller scale businesses who, maybe you're looking at local SEO to one degree, and they're maybe just wanting to naturally build up their authority with some link building. If they just suddenly got like this amazing piece in Forbes or, The Entrepreneur or Sky News, it kind of would throw up alarm bells with Google probably, and some of the algorithms, like maybe that's not a natural placement for it, which is why, like, I think the human touch point and the work that our account managers do with like building those relationships with all of our different clients is to make sure that we're able to deliver the link building services that we do have at the level and at the quantity that is going to have the most impact, not just in like the short term so they can see like a spike in keywords or a spike in their organic traffic on Ahrefs, but so they can start seeing like the impact that these links are going to build 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line. Rhino Rank was founded 8 years ago, and we still have clients who joined us then who still work with us now because they see that long-term impact. And I think that's maybe why we haven't gone into the PR aspect just yet, because where our client base are, that's not what their needed, is not what their necessity is. So whilst it's an amazing thing to do, at least from my perspective, links are links, and what we build and what we deliver is meeting client needs and expectations, and it's going to be delivering value for the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years.
Makes a lot of sense. And the most important part that you've mentioned, both of you, is that the results that you're bringing are actually measurable. So you can see
100%.
them. With PR, it's often like, okay, we did something, we don't know what's the impact. Like with yours, like you can actually, at least you can count the links, and then you can see the impact on the growth of organic. So kudos on that.
100%. I think that's crucial. And like I say, obviously, definitely with these larger PR articles, they're fantastic links to receive. Don't get me wrong. You know, if we could launch PR at Rhino Rank, fantastic. I would absolutely love to. I think right now we are very, very good at what we do. And again, we see measurable results. And I think if we started adding PR, it would be difficult for some of our clients to judge the results they receive. But then if I consider, like I said, the gentleman I connected with on LinkedIn, the posts he regularly shares about the results he sees, fantastic. If we can emulate what he does, brilliant. But you know, that could be a long time down the line. Maybe we'll have to get him on the podcast and talk to him about his PR strategies. But you know, I think definitely you're right, Tom. Being able to measure what you're doing is absolutely crucial. Obviously, we've already talked about it in terms of your critiquing stages, and definitely with our link building, if we're able to measure an improvement in not only the number of ranking keywords or your positions for specific keywords where you're building links to those target pages, and your improvement in organic traffic, absolutely crucial.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Tom, we've been through all of our questions. We've grilled you a fair bit and you've dealt with it very well. So thank you very much. Do you have any final questions for us before we wrap up, or?
I think I asked all of them like in between. So I think I got like all the answers that I wanted. So thanks a lot for really a great time.
Yeah, it's been really good. You know, I really enjoyed this. It's been a fantastic conversation with you, Tom. Jess, do you have any final questions for Tom? Is there anything else you want to run over, or?
I think just like wrapping up, it's almost like AI is blown up over the past couple of years, but I still feel like a lot of people still just use the chat function in AI rather than maybe all the other tools that are kind of being developed at the moment because there's been such a steep learning curve. So where do you see AI going in the future, like within marketing and within SEO? Do you think the learning curve is still going to be as steep as it has been, or do you think it'll plateau a little bit and it'll give people a little bit of time to catch up and maybe start introducing the cyborg method and start, you know, getting that training and that expertise in to be able to update their workflow?
So I feel that there was like time that there was huge hype over chat. Right now, we will see more and more specialized tools that basically focus on delivering context to AI and the goals to AI so it can actually perform specific things. And it's the time of AI agents that will build up, but AI agents that will be a part of a workflow. So we will be using AI in a way that we will not notice that we're using AI. So it's not kind of like prompting. I'm not a strong believer that we need to learn prompting to the extent of a developer. We do need to talk to AI and know how to ask questions and what kind of data like we need to deliver. But in my opinion, most of the tools that will grow right now are the tools specialized in something. So we will not even notice that we're using AI because the things will be just done for us. So this is the future that I feel it's happening right now. More and more developers are using AI in the process for a lot of things. And they're turning their mindset from an if mindset of a developer. So earlier, as developers, we were thinking about all edge cases. So if we're going to specific place, what are the potential edge cases that can happen? Right now, we're turning our mindset into goal oriented. So like, what do we want to get to? We don't have to think about all the edge cases because AI will think about edge cases for us. It's extremely hard transition, like for most developers, but this is the future that I see.
It's almost like AI is going to become a subconscious piece of the puzzle. And what's one piece of advice you'd give to businesses who have maybe been a little bit scared or dubious about using AI?
Make mistakes, as many mistakes as possible. Because if you will not mistakes, you will not get to a point where you will do it right. Don't be afraid of them because everybody makes mistakes. As I said, like during talk, I sometimes iterate on my prompt like 200 times. So until I get it right. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. You will make so many mistakes. I do them every single day.
Mistakes is where you learn the most, I find.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. Guys, if you've been listening and watching this podcast, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions, if there's anything you want to comment on, feel free to drop us a comment. Feel free to drop us an email. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Before we finish, I just want to give a big thank you to both Tom and Jess. You've both been fantastic on the podcast. Tom, you've given some really fantastic insights into the world of AI and SEO and how it's going to develop. And Jess, again, you've asked some fantastic questions and again, given some fantastic insights. So we really appreciate it. But we will leave it there and we will catch you next time on the Rhino Rank podcast.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you liked what you heard, make sure to follow the podcast, drop us a like, drop us a comment. We'd love to hear how you're applying these insights and strategies to your business. We've got more brilliant guests lined up, so stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, this is Jack and Jess signing off. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.